Hello everyone, Lawrence here from Unicorn Reviews with a bit of a different video today because we'll be talking about a webcam. But it's a very special webcam, one that has AI tracking. So if you move to the right, or if you move to the left, or if you go up or down, the camera follows you. You can have it zoom in by doing gestures or lock focus on you, all that sort of stuff. Using gestures, this is an AI gimbal mounted webcam. Let's see how good it is. So here it is. This is the OBSBOT Tiny. It's called Tiny because it's pretty small actually for what it is. I'm not going to bore you too much with this information. You can just pause the video and read this if you're interested. Basically, in the box you get a very well packaged camera. Namely this little doohickey right here. And as you can see, it's gimbal mounted. So the webcam is motorized and it can track you as you are moving about, and I'll get into why that is very handy in just a bit. On the front of the unit you have the OBSBOT branding name, tripod thread in the bottom, and it also comes with one of these magnet mounts, so you can clip it onto stuff using just a magnet if you don't want to put this on a tripod. So to give you guys an idea of video quality, I'm recording this on the Fujifilm X-T30 over there, and also on the OBSBOT Tiny. The audio you are hearing right now has been recorded using the OBSBOT Tiny. With all this sample video footage, I'm not doing any sort of color correction or post-processing of like sharpening or changing exposure levels. All these cameras have been reset to their standard camera settings just to give you a good idea of what they look and sound like. Alright, so from now on, everything will be recorded using the OBSBOT Tiny, both video and audio using OBS in 1080p 30 fps. The OBSBOT Tiny only does 1080p. If you want 4K, you'll have to get a different model OBSBOT, but I would still recommend getting an OBSBOT as it's absolutely incredible. Now, my sample was supplied to me by Pergear, so I'll link a link below in the description so you can go and buy one yourself, which you probably should because it's a really amazing webcam. That said, color-wise it's not great. I would probably do some sort of color correction if possible, maybe just make it a little bit warmer so that I don't look as dead as I feel inside. But let's dive in. So first up, plug it into your computer, it'll work. The gesture control will work, just plugging in, no drivers or updates needed. So those gestures include holding a hand next to your face to enable the tracking. Now the camera should be following me as I move about. If I move about to the other side, it'll track me over here. If I stand up, the camera just follows me. If I get down, the camera follows me. So that is really cool. And it actually does a really good job of following you, even if you're doing these slightly faster movements. So epic. It also can do zoom, but zoom is not automatic. However, you can use gestures to zoom. So if you do this one, if you do this one, it'll do a 2x optical zoom. Although the image quality really isn't incredible. And then you can just give the L again, and it will zoom out to 1 time, which is a really wide angle lens, especially if you saw the shots earlier compared to the Logitech. This is much wider, so you can get all nice and close to your camera like this. You shouldn't though. So those are the sort of features you get not using software. But as you can see on the screen right now, I have some software up here. Now I'm going to be using hotkeys, I'll mention them, but you can't actually find the hotkeys in the software. The API for this is not ready yet. You have to have the software called OBSBOT TinyCam in focus, so you can't have it as a background task because the API is not ready yet, and you also cannot adjust these key bindings right now, but let's dive in anyway. You can of course use your mouse to see that we are on firmware 1.0.1.4. You can use this to disable gesture control, so if you're in a situation where you have hands next to your faces or doing a lot of L movements, you can turn that off, turn it back on. You can also, of course, reduce flickering, configure your video, which gives you this sort of standard video edit or webcam image editing, but right now it's set to default. More interestingly, though, we have this sort of user interface. So right now it just says 1 because there's only one camera connected. You can connect 4 of these and then use the numbers 1 through 4 on your keyboard to toggle between which camera you want to control. Of course, there are also buttons to toggle on the AI tracking. So right now it will track me again, but you can also use the L on your keyboard to turn that on or off. You can reset the gimbal to a standard position if you want to do that, but you can then just enable the lock again. The reset button is R, by the way. If you want to be zooming in manually, you can use the I and O on your keyboard to zoom in 1 or 0.1x increments. There you go. If you want to move the camera around, you can use the arrow keys. You can then just use the lock on to lock in again, maybe zoom in a little bit. That is all very nice. And there are 3 presets. So if I just delete a preset right now, I turn off the lock, I move the camera around to, what should we zoom in on? Maybe this microphone that I'm talking about, just like so. And now I can press the A button on my keyboard, and this will lock this in as a new preset position. So if I then press the W, it will go to preset number 2. If I press Q, it will go to preset number 1. But if I press the E on my keyboard, it will zoom in automatically and move to this new preset number 3 that I just created. However, it can only do 3 presets at the moment, so keep that in mind. Anyway, I think having these presets is really cool. I want to see OBSBOT do more with these presets. It would be really cool if they are system-wide, so that if I'm in a game, I can press some combination or press some macro key and have the camera react to that, because just using your hand or the fingers to do something is not always as handy, especially if you're like pointing to something, maybe it doesn't register, maybe you'll get a false positive. It's not always the best thing, but it's really cool that it exists. So anyway, guys, this webcam was provided to me by Pergear, so check out the link in the description if you want to pick one up. It's 200 euros, which is twice what a camera like the Logitech C922 Pro that we have been comparing against cost. But I think this gimbal functionality and the AI functionality, or it's basically just fancy tracking, I think that functionality really adds to the value of this camera. I think 200 is a very fair price for a very well-made product that looks good, works good, and overall is something I can definitely recommend to any streamer, be it on Twitch or some adult sites. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you guys soon in the next one. Cheers!